Boom. Hey, welcome to the Basketball Soapbox brought to you by the Mr. Vincent Podcast. Emmanuel Vincent has joined me today. This is a collab, right? He's the host of the Mr. Vincent Podcast. You guys can check that out on Spotify and other listening platforms where he covers many sports, kind of like me: basketball, wrestling, football. He had a great piece about LeBron the other day, as well as the Royal Rumble recap. Check him out. He has a lot of people visiting, insiders and stuff like that. Give that a listen. Give that a check it out. Links will be in the description below. But Emmanuel, thank you for joining me, man.
Yeah, dude, no doubt, man. I was trying to get in a podcast for a minute, but I was glad you hit me up.
Yeah, especially with the explosion of today's episode. The trade deadline in the NBA just going absolutely insane. Last night, we can get right into it. We're basically going to be talking about the trade deadline. Kevin Durant heads to Phoenix. I was kind of winding down for the night, about to go to sleep. Just finished watching the Mavs and Clippers game, seeing Kyrie in his new environment. And they're waiting to talk to Kyrie after the game. They just won their game on the road against the Clippers. They just had their number, as well as Phoenix and other teams and stuff like that. So to see Kyrie Irving come out there, I'm like, let me see what Kyrie Irving has to say. And Scott Van Pelt is in a frantic panic. He's like, oh, wait, we're about to go to Kyrie Irving. And I'm like, okay, cool. And he's like, wait, nope, something just happened. Kevin Durant just got traded to Phoenix. And I'm like, what? It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and that breaks. Woj gives out the information there.
So what broke during the broadcast of Sports Center with Scott Van Pelt during the Kyrie post-game interview?
Like right before Kyrie's about to come on.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So
that's crazy.
Like I was sitting there like, all right, I'm just waiting to see I'm just winding down for the night, and that literally pops up. Scott Van Pelt just says that right before they go to commercial. They come back, they got Woj on there. The Suns are getting Kevin Durant, TJ Warren, sending out Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, and 4 first unprotected picks to the Brooklyn Nets. And I was just flabbergasted by this trade because I'm like, we knew Kevin Durant wanted to go there in the offseason previously as a trade demand, trying to pick teams and figure out where to go. He had Phoenix on his list. And to see this come full circle, especially after Kyrie Irving getting traded, him going to Phoenix, a rival of the Mavs in the Western Conference right now, to see that happen, I was floored by it. What are your thoughts about that?
Man, like I said, I can swear, right?
Yeah. We can. Yeah.
Oh, cool. It's making sure. When I first seen it, I'm like, fuck. Damn. I was so happy the Lakers made the moves they made, and then I see that when I wake up because I didn't see it real time. I woke up like might be like around 4 or 5 in the morning. It's like look at my phone notification. Kevin Durant gets traded to the Suns. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I find out that they don't give up Ayton. What the hell they give up then? I'm like, yo, like so you tell me they go able to keep CP3, keep Devin Booker, and keep DeAndre Ayton to go along with KD. That's crazy to me. But yeah, it's just really like shifted the whole power. Not the whole power. I'll say kind of shifted the balance in the NBA, kind of like what he did when he went to the Warriors in 2016. Because you don't really see a player KD's magnitude get traded mid-season. But then again, we don't really see a lot of players in a situation that he was in a dysfunctional organization that is the Brooklyn Nets. So I think they both go hand in hand. But yeah, it's crazy. The West is really deep. A lot of star power in the West that it's just like if I'm Boston or Milwaukee, I'm relieved that we don't got to deal with the Nets anymore, so you can cross them off the list. And now it's just like it's a 2-horse race for the Eastern Conference Championship.
Yeah, for real. My first thoughts, of course, when I was just reading reports about it and Woj breaking it down, he was saying this trade basically that was Mikal. They were reluctant to trade Mikal Bridges, and he was like the last final piece to make that trade happen. Especially with the picks in there, and you just think about the age of Kevin Durant. He's 35, 36 years old right now. Basically kind of similar to how the Lakers did everything to get Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook, giving up those picks for this chance to get a championship, getting a last final run for CP3. I thought it was big time. I thought it was big time, especially for Phoenix, especially with that new owner. And Brian Windhorst came out and said the owner really pushed a lot of paperwork to get through so that he can be in control and make a big splash trade. And boy, did he ever. Like, this is one of the
Yeah, because I think I saw word who said that he was supposed to take over like after Valentine's Day, but the
Yeah.
process got sped up because he was like trying to make a move, make a big splash, and boy did he ever.
I'm like, damn. Like, I can't think of a trade like that, a trade deadline like that. I can't think of off the top of my head of anything that massive or any trade like that to happen. And especially the caliber, especially a guy like a caliber of Kevin Durant, you know, his history, MVP, finals MVP champion, one of the best scorers we've ever seen in the game, like getting traded again. It's like, yeah, we've never seen nothing like that.
Yeah, man. I mean, you think about it, just like arguably, I think like them, I've never seen anybody score so effortlessly, at least on the perimeter, like KD does. And he added him to Devin Booker and CP3 and Ayton. And the thing about KD that I love about his game, and Tim Legler brought this up, best analyst in basketball on ESPN. On first take, he made a great point. KD is probably the easiest superstar to blend into an offense because he doesn't. He's like a chameleon. He can play with anybody. He doesn't need the basketball. He plays in the flow of the game. Doesn't different the offense. Doesn't slow down the ball movement. He just gets his buckets. Like he can score 30 on 12 shots. So everybody's gonna get there. It's not like Book or CP3 is gonna be out of rhythm. So he's just a plus in any offense he goes to, which is very, very rare, as I would say, from the majority of superstars who ever played the game of basketball.
Yeah, like everyone has their fit. Like LeBron has their certain fit. They got to have the ball in their hands. Jordan would probably have to have the ball in their hands. Magic Johnson would have to have the ball in his hands, right? So to see somebody as versatile as Kevin Durant, especially being integrated into this offense, especially we love Chris Paul, point guard. His ability, Kevin Durant's never played with a point guard like this. He's always played with a scoring first point guard mindset point guard. Now to get somebody here who's going to get him easier shots, set him up. He's playing next to Devin Booker. He has a big guy in DeAndre Ayton that can set screens and pick and roll actions with him. And even though I think the Suns did lose something defensively here with Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges going out, you had a guy that gets 30 a night easily. He's basically a 50, 40, 90 guy for his whole career, on the verge of that every year, in and out. To add that to now Devin Booker, who's coming back from injury, who's gotten a little rest. You know, when guys come back, they get a little rusty coming back, but Devin Booker looks like he's going to hit the ground running again. Chris Paul has come back, hit the ground running again. DeAndre Ayton has been dominant, getting his first 30 and 15 games back-to-back recently. So to see that and then add Kevin Durant to that, it's just like, I mean, and not even to think like they're not even, the buyout market's not even open yet. So like guys are going to get bought out. Like Phoenix is a viable option now. Like, hey, I can go help Phoenix win. I can go be a part of that team there. So I think that's something that people haven't really thought about either. But Kevin Durant, man, like Stephen A. Smith said he's lucky. He's really lucky to be on Phoenix and get out of Brooklyn and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I got to agree, man. Like for him to basically have everything falling down around him the past couple years in Brooklyn, to now go into a stable situation where you know Chris Paul's the leader of that team. You know Devin Booker's going to get his buckets. You don't have to worry about where he's going to be on the court. DeAndre Ayton, even though people have their questions about him, the stability there on the front court with him, he's going to show up every night. He's going to produce. And now it's just like Kevin Durant, as you said, as Legler said, Kevin Durant just joins that. This team won 64 games. They have Monty Williams as a coach. Like, you're not going to have that instability that you had in Brooklyn the past couple of years. Yeah.
I mean, like, if you're a Phoenix fan, you got to be ecstatic. I mean, 2 years ago, your team did go to the finals, but if we keep it real, they caught a lot of breaks. A lot of injuries did occur on their run to the finals. But nonetheless, they got there. Then they lost in 6 to the Bucks. Then follow up with the year after. They 64-win team, first in the West, and then losing 7 to the Mavs in a stunning fashion. I'm like, what the hell was that? Yeah, and now you followed up with getting a top 15 player to ever play the game to go along with that team, and takes a lot of responsibility off of Chris Paul's shoulders, which is good because especially he's always been injury prone, but now at this advanced stage in his career, I think he's about to be 38 in May. So this is just a plus.
And it also, especially for Chris Paul, it takes the scoring load off of him. I think, and especially with Phoenix, with DeAndre Ayton not always being consistent on the offensive end. So to sit there and not have the pressure on Chris Paul to score every bucket. And I think that's something that Chris Paul has had to do over the past couple of years. And it's like, if he didn't get 20 for Phoenix, they were going to play bad. Like in terms of games that they really needed in the playoffs and certain stretches like that, where he really was relied on to score. And it's like at that stage of his career, 37, now 36, 37, 38, he can't do that. Like that's just not going to be his responsibility. And now you just get this nuclear weapon, Kevin Durant, 30 points per game, boom, added to your offense. And it's like, wow, this is crazy. Like I can't even think of a move like that.
Yeah, and I mean, you see a lot of people are saying now that they're the favorites in the West. I can't knock them with taking that position. Now, I mean, Denver. Yeah. I think Denver will have something to say. I'm not sure about Memphis. I think they're still a little too young. They needed to add a real like vocal leader, veteran into the locker room, which they didn't address at the trade deadline. So I really think it's just Denver right now that can realistically compete with the Suns. Or then we can knock the Warriors as well too. They got to be mentioned as well, just because they had the pedigree. They've been there so many times. Steph Curry is who he is. Clay is finally coming along. I love the acquisition of getting Gary Payton back Jr. So
yep. So I mean speaking about other contenders in the West, the Nuggets add Thomas Bryant. They trade Bones Highland to the Clippers. So there's a little bit of movement there. They got a little insurance for Joker as a backup big, or he can play next to him, whatever the question is, if Aaron Gordon's in foul trouble or whatever the case is there. You can give Joker a rest there at certain points in time. Looking at other teams, Memphis, I thought they missed a big opportunity to make something happen. I've always been a personal fan of saying, hey, yo, get rid of Devin Books. You need Devin, what's his name? Did I miss his name? Dylan Brooks, my bad.
Oh, Dylan Brooks,
yeah. I always felt like they can get an upgrade. They didn't do that. As you said, they didn't add a veteran. They needed some three-point shooting. Ironically, I think they got Luka in the Clippers trade again with that whole trade going there. So to see Memphis, they did add shooting and add somebody there that's a good shooter, a valuable asset. But I just felt like there was a misstep there. There was rumors that they were trying to get OG Anunoby. That fell flat. I thought that would have been an awesome pickup for them, especially with Kevin Durant now going to the West. And it's just crazy, man, to see Phoenix back in this position, and then to see a team want to, certain teams keep a window open. They hang on to guys too long. They don't retool correctly, but to sit there and just be like, hey, we're going to open this window, because I've made a couple videos on my channel, on my podcast, that the Suns window is open. It's closed now. What's going on? Ayton's going to get traded. This team's going to break up. And to revive that, like that's awesome for Phoenix, man. Because a lot of people thought they were frauds and stuff like that. Like the doors closed. Now they still have to go out there and perform and get things done. But it's like no less than the Western Conference Finals appearance, barring injury or anything like that. And they should be a shoo-in for the finals. I think especially with Kevin Durant added to that offense, it's going to be tough to beat, man. It's going to be tough to beat.
Absolutely. But I do think the likes of like Boston and Milwaukee, if they were to meet Suns in the finals, either one of those two teams, I think they can give them a serious challenge for the tip.
Yeah, for sure. I like what Boston kind of did. They're the best team in the East. Well, the best team in the NBA. They really didn't have to make a move. I would like an addition of a big man. They did get Mike Muscala. As for Milwaukee, we know Jay Crowder. Brooklyn moved him to Milwaukee, so that's a good addition for them. It adds to another 3-and-D guy that they can rely on, especially Jay Crowder. He's been getting rest the whole first half of the season, so he's going to come in there and help Milwaukee.
Yeah, there was some people on. I think Brian Winters was like he had some concerns when I was watching the trade deadline special for NBA Today. I think he said that he had some concerns about Jay Crowder being off for so long. I'm like, dog, he's not like it's a top 3 player on the team. I think he'll be fine. Like if it was like a level of Chris Middleton or Drew Holiday, then you have some worries if he's been off for 4 months. But it's just gone, and it's good that he just kind of reminds me of like when they acquired PJ Tucker. He kind of fills that void, because I think they were missing that ever since they let him walk to Miami.
Yeah, they definitely missed that type of dynamic with the 3-and-D guy in the corner and stuff like that, and being able to be switchable on defense and stuff like that. So that definitely helps out Milwaukee. Let's continue on with the other trade that got overshadowed Kyrie Irving's press conference. Kyrie joins Luka in Dallas. A big time trade. Mavs get Kyrie Irving, Markieff Morris. Nets send out Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, a 2029 first round pick, and 2 second-round picks to the Brooklyn Nets. And I'm like, damn, like Spencer Dinwiddie goes back to Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Like he just left. I thought he was still a valuable piece with Dallas, and I feel like that was a piece that they wanted to just have his contract on the books and stuff like that to make that happen. But to get a caliber play like that and get Dorian Finney-Smith, it's like for Kyrie Irving, I thought that was more than what they expected, like especially at that point when like how much were they going to get from Kyrie Irving and stuff like that, and not to take on Russell Westbrook's contract for Brooklyn. I feel like they came up in this, but also Kyrie Irving, most importantly, joining Luka, adding to that offense that desperately needed something, especially after the loss of Jalen Brunson. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, I think that it was definitely a gamble. High risk, but it was a gamble that the Mavs had to take. I feel like they couldn't afford to treat Luka like they did Dirk post the 2011 championship and not surrounded with the legit co-star. The guy, we see what this guy is doing. He's transcendent, one of the best players in the league, top 5, top 7 right now. He's young, and now we live in the age of player empowerment. And there's a chance that Luka could have got frustrated that he could have demanded a trade. So when you got a player of Kyrie's caliber, while there's baggage that comes along with that, you can't pass that up. I think that's right, because now it relieves so much of a burden for Luka where he can just rest on offense some spots during the game and let Kyrie do his thing, kind of similar to what Kyrie and LeBron were doing back in Cleveland when they were on their championship run. I think that they can mimic that relatively well.
Yeah, especially when you think about what they lost with Jalen Brunson. Kyrie Irving's just a better offensive player. He's not a better defensive player than Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson was able to hold his own at this position. Kyrie Irving is going to be a question mark, and especially being one of the best defensive teams in the league. To now lose that defensive intensity to have somebody that adds to the offensive end, it's a positive on that end. But what happens on the defensive end, especially losing Dorian Finney-Smith, you lose another ball handler in terms of Spencer Dinwiddie, but you add 30 points per game. You add one of the best creators in basketball. He's able to get 30 and 5. So it's a double-edged sword, right? Like you lose a little bit, you gain something here. But with Kyrie Irving's impact, I think that's going to be a good thing for the Mavs, especially in that offense, being able to create a little bit like Jalen Brunson did, but also able to just get his own bucket. You need somebody else to get their own buckets consistently in Dallas, especially looking like Spencer Dinwiddie was not going to be that second scorer for you guys. He wasn't. So to get that upgrade over the Spencer Dinwiddie, Jalen Brunson, you might lose a little bit of defense, but we know the impact of Kyrie Irving, especially when he has his head on straight. We saw him the first half of the season in Brooklyn when he had his head on straight, when everything was going smooth. He's able to produce, be an all-star level player. So to add that to Dallas, I think that's a win for them. And as you said earlier, that was a real risky move. And especially Mark Cuban, that was my whole hesitance on that trade happening. Like Kyrie Irving's not usually his type of player, right? Like he's not going to, especially somebody so rebellion, somebody that is as strong-will-minded as Kyrie Irving is, and as many problems. It's like, do you want to bring that into your organization? And for him to actually do that and pull the trigger on that, kudos to Dallas, because it's a move that, as you said, was necessary. Yeah, man.
I mean, you just hope that. I mean, you saw what Kyrie did last night against the Clippers and the show he put on. You hope that he could be a quote unquote model citizen during his time there, as he is looking to get paid, looking to get a 3 to 4 year extension. So it would be in his best interest to do that. But then again, we have history with Kyrie where he does certain things that may rub people the wrong way. So if you're a Mavs fan, you're praying, just please, Kyrie, please just be in your best behavior. And if he does, I think that this team, while they're going to be atrocious on defense, that offense, I mean, I think that they're already, the best backcourt in the league. But I've been playing together, Luka and Kyrie.
Yeah,
this offense is just too prolific.
Yeah, like especially those guys able to create with the basketball and be able to score at will, basically, in this NBA, and be able to get to the basket. Both of these guys get to the basket. They get to the line. They're able to shoot. To have versatility in the backcourt, and especially with Jason Kidd there. Jason Kidd, I got to give him props between all of this. Like, Jason Kidd has been able to steer that ship. I don't know how he's done it in Dallas. Of course, Luka is phenomenal on the offensive end, but to get that team to be that good defensively, and I'm looking there, I'm like, how is he doing this on the defensive end? I don't understand it. I still haven't figured it out. I'm like, I don't know. I know the pace of play has to do with it. They're one of the slowest teams in the league, but kudos to him. And I'm impressed by what Dallas has did, and especially to add Kyrie Irving and be like, we're going to give ourselves a chance here. We know we're not going to be better than Denver. We're not going to be better than, especially right now, Phoenix or whatever, but we give ourselves a puncher's chance at forming some type of identities, forming some type of direction of where we go. At least we have building blocks to build off of rather than just Luka. We now have Kyrie Irving and Luka. We can actually build our team around them and figure out what direction we want to go.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think that this team, can they possibly make it to the conference finals? I would give them a chance if that Phoenix deal didn't go through with KD. But probably second round. I guess they didn't go into second round at least.
Yeah, definitely second round. I think, and especially with Luka, he got to the Western Conference Finals. Whatever we think of whatever the meltdowns of other teams are, whatever he got to the Western Conference Finals. We've seen crazier things happen where guys get hot in the playoffs. Now you got two guys that can get hot in the playoffs, and that's going to be difficult to guard. That's going to be difficult to slow down. And I think what's different is the identity of the Dallas Mavericks. They actually do play defense. So it's different in Brooklyn. It's different than what we saw in Houston, where teams break down that are great offensively when they have two offensive stars that can get things done. To have that defensive identity on that end, I think that gives them a puncher's chance. I think they're still going to be a little weak. But, again, they still have some direction to go. But, yeah, man, to see the domino effect of Kyrie Irving leaving Brooklyn, Kevin Durant leaving Brooklyn, and now Brooklyn's just stuck with all these picks, a bunch of small forwards, a bunch of 3-and-D guys. It's like,
yeah. Oh, and they're still stuck with Ben Simmons, and there's no way that contract is gonna be moved. Well, I think he has 2 years, $80 million left in his deal.
Yeah. Like they just have to eat that, right? Like, especially, I was talking to somebody. I'm like, especially they gave all the picks to Houston in that James Harden trade, so they had to replenish it some way. So they did get a whole bunch of picks from this. Both those transactions, they got a bunch of first-round picks. Most likely going to be out of the lottery, right? Like they're not going to get any lottery picks, but at least they have some assets in cap space now going forward that they can build off of and trying to figure out. And maybe that's a way they get off of Ben Simmons. Hey, take Ben Simmons and take these picks. Like, get him out of here. Like that position that they actually have and some leverage that they can actually have to move on from Ben Simmons, actually start a rebuild. They have Mikal Bridges. They have Cam Johnson. They have some nice pieces there. They had Dorian Finney-Smith. Yeah, so there's something there. They got Royce O'Neal. It's not, of course, we're not thinking that they're going to be top. They're going to be flirting with that. That's going to be the realization of that team, right? But to just go from 3 All-Stars, to go from Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, future Hall of Famers, to just have Ben Simmons, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, I'm like, I've never seen a downward spiral like that probably since I want to say Orlando Magic, like when they lost Shaq, like I've never seen something this
lost
bad.
Shaq, Penny got injured, and it was
like just to see that downward spiral, like I can't remember anything like that, to see it like that, and it's like, damn.
But I feel like that was like more with the Nets. It was more self-inflicted. Right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we live in this player empowerment era, but at some point, you gotta just all right, we need balance here, and then it just went downhill from there. They basically capitulated to everything that they wanted.
Yeah, but they had balance there for a little bit. Like Jacques Vaughn came in, everything was right in the ship. They were winning games. All of a sudden, Kevin Durant goes down, and hell breaks loose.
And then Kyrie wants that money, and they, gave him a crazy contract. I believe they were saying that for the money to be guaranteed in the 3rd year, they had to win a championship.
Mm-hmm.
I know that turned. I'm pretty sure that turned Kyrie in his camp off. So
no, they were saying. I believe his stepmom his agent.
Is it?
They were saying.
I think so.
I think so. But they were saying that she was like, "Oh, the ball is in the Nets court." And to put that stipulation in there, it was like, oh, he's good. Once I heard that, I was like, oh, he's gone. Like, you're not going to guarantee whatever we say about Kyrie Irving. He's an all-star player, high talented player, one of the best scorers in the league. to sit there and say that to a player, I've never heard anything like that. I've never.
Me neither.
I've heard of incentives like, hey, if we win a championship, you get a bonus. But to sit there and be like, hey, the only way you get your third year is if we win a championship, like, I've never heard anything like that in sports. Never.
Which is why I'm not really mad at Kyrie for taking the position he did and requesting the trade.
I think there's a little bit of understanding on both sides, right? Like, we understand, hey, yo, you're not going to pay me. Why would I want to stay here? Why would I want to be here on Kyrie Irving's part? On Brooklyn's side, it's like, why should we give you this money? You have not been here. Like, you've played, what, less than 50% of the games? Why are we going to make this investment? I understand it from both sides, and I think this is one of the conundrums in the NBA right now, understanding it from both the player side and the business sides of the teams here. But, yeah, it's just crazy to think about how Brooklyn has just fell from grace. Like, they've been the finals favorite for the past couple of years. Like, people, the media, especially on TV, oh, Brooklyn's going to the finals. Oh, we're picking Brooklyn. You can't pick against Brooklyn. They added Ben Simmons. And then to just see it fall flat, it's just like, wow, it's finally over. That 4 years.
But to provide context, I mean, there were some things that happened along the way, injuries, New York City mandate when it comes to the vaccine. But still, I mean, when you have all that talent to at one point have KD, Kyrie, and James Harden in your same team and not have a championship to show for it, it's kind of just it's a little alarming, kind of shocking.
Yeah, I mean, to just think about that franchise that needed to build. Like, this is two powerhouses that they filled. We saw the earlier inception of the Brooklyn Nets where they had Darren Williams and Joe Johnson, Brook Lopez, KG, and Paul Pierce. And everyone was like, oh, they can get to the Eastern Conference Finals. They can get to the finals. And to not do that and then to flip around and have this again and turn around. And
I didn't think that, only because KG and Paul Pierce were way over the hill at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, but
I remember people saying that.
Yeah, but it's just like Darren Williams and Joe Johnson, it's like, hey, these guys can carry this offense, do that, and just to see that fall flat and then just hold on to Brook Lopez and then Brook Lopez leaves, to see this team rebuild, and then everybody's like, oh, they're the new team in New York, and they didn't build anything. They didn't accomplish anything. I think they had one playoff series win. It's like, damn, man. Damn.
Hey, question. Do you think it's inevitable that we'll get a 30 for 30? Brooklyn Nets fall from grace? Nah, real talk.
Should not. We should not. We should not. Like, that usually happens. That usually happens to teams that get close and then don't win, right? Like, I would expect one about the Sacramento Kings, the 2016 Thunder. One of those teams should get one. Teams that got close and didn't win in the fall from grace. But this team is just like, they never really got started out the blocks. Like, they never had a good playoff run. Kevin Durant had his awesome playoff run where he was going up against the Bucks basically 1-on-5. That's it. Like, that's it. Like, that's the splash of basketball that Brooklyn Nets have endured. Like, that's all you guys got. You got great performances from Kevin Durant on a nightly basis, and it didn't result in even the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, nothing. But let's continue moving on. Let's go to your team out west, the Los Angeles Lakers, finally getting rid of Russell Westbrook.
Yes, we are finally. I can finally tolerate watching my team play again. Because let me tell you, these last 2 years, I wasn't watching the games like that. I couldn't. It was just bad basketball, poor spacing, no defense, bad shot selection. I'm like, what the hell is this? But finally, we got rid of the problem. Well, the main problem. Not to say that. Let me just be clear. I like Russell Westbrook, but I said from the moment we made that trade for him, that might be the worst trade I've ever seen in my life, because I knew that wouldn't work. So if I know it doesn't work and I don't even play basketball, why the hell would LeBron gonna push for that? And why would Pelinka agree? Like, dog, y'all are basketball minds. Y'all are around this stuff every day. Like, I'm just a regular guy who just talks about basketball and watches basketball, but I watch basketball enough to know that would never ever work.
Like, just from geometry on the floor, it's just like, hey, you need some type of spacing here around LeBron, around AD. Like, these are two guys that are dominant with the ball, that can command double teams. You're going to need somebody to space the floor and knock down shots. That's how they won the championship. Have a bunch of defensive players around you and guys that can knock down shots. That's how they won the championship. They stripped all of that away for Russell Westbrook, and I'm like, the world was like, why did they do that? And then I was like, of course, I like Russell Westbrook, so I'm like, I don't want to see this guy fail at another stop, right? We saw him in Washington We saw him in Houston. I'm like, I don't want to see him fail, even if it's the Lakers. I want him to play. Turned around his play this year, but it still just wasn't enough for the Lakers to make a positive impact out west. But in this trade, they get D'Angelo Russell back, Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt. The Timberwolves are getting Mike Conley and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Utah gets Russell Westbrook, Juan Toscano-Anderson, Damian Jones, and a 2027 first-round pick. I think is 1 through 4 protected from the Lakers. So a deal that works out in my mind for the Lakers in Minnesota, but Utah is basically just shedding guys, shedding cash, and trying to figure things out. But the main thing, Russell Westbrook out of LA, getting D'Angelo Russell back. The Lakers also got a couple other guys there. I can't remember. They made a trade for Mo Bamba as well, adding different dynamics to your roster. Traded Thomas Bryant out to Denver, opening space for Mo Bamba coming in. So the Lakers are definitely making a modernized team a little bit, having shooting, having spacing, having a big man that can protect the rim next to Anthony Davis. So the Lakers definitely making some moves, man. But how do you feel about D'Angelo Russell coming back in that situation?
How do I feel? Well, again, I think it's going to be an upgrade from Westbrook. But to be clear, he's not a better player than Russell Westbrook. He just fits better with how AD and LeBron play. We have a space, another ball handler. I think will make better decisions than Rusted in the clutch. A far better shooter from 3. That's going to allow Braun to attack the rack and AD to like do a thing in the paint as well too. So it just opened up the game for, like you said, the modern NBA. So in that case, it's a plus. Now we all know what happened last time he was there. He was like number 2 overall by Magic Johnson. Guys faded out with that once the incident happened with him and Swaggy P. Has he learned from that? I would think so. I mean, how long was that? Like 5 years ago?
He's been around enough to. He's been around enough to.
Yeah, so hopefully he learned from that and he'll make the most of his second chance in LA.
Yeah, I think it's a good move for LA in terms of spacing. I don't know about the shot selection because I saw in Minnesota where it was like sometimes you need to just give Anthony Edwards the ball and let him get that. So I think there's going to be a different element. He's playing with a different level of talent. You're playing with LeBron James. You're playing with Anthony Davis. I think he's going to fall in line and be a real good soldier for the Los Angeles Lakers. Definitely an upgrade, ability to space the floor. And he's still able to get his own shots when called upon. So I think that's a different element that the Lakers didn't have, especially with the spacing and shot creation. But also Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, Mo Bamba. They have NBA players on their roster. Sometimes the Lakers are putting guys in. I'm like, who the hell is that?
Don't remind me. Don't remind me. I know.
I'm like, yo, they're bringing in people. I'm like, yo, who are these people? To sit there and you see Lonnie Walker there. You see Rui Hachimura, who they also added. So it's like at least they have some NBA players. There's actually going to be some type of direction. Now I think it's just if the Lakers can make a run here. They are in 13th place, but everything's close out west. So they were never really out of it. Like that's the one thing about the Lakers. Like I even thought about, I'm like, yo, all they need to do is just put a good run together, and they're like a top seed in the Western Conference. It's not out of the realm of that, but to actually add NBA players here and have some stability, have some actual logic on the basketball court, player wise, roster wise, personnel wise. I think Darvin Ham is relieved. He doesn't have to deal with the Russell Westbrook situation. Of course, there was a report that him and Russell Westbrook were arguing after last night's game after LeBron broke the record.
Yeah, what did you think about that? I'm curious.
Them arguing, like, what? Say that again, sorry.
Yeah, them arguing. What do you think about that?
I thought, especially as a stronger personality as Russell Westbrook is, I'm going to expect that. But he's been arguing with assistant coaches, and especially last night, it's like I'm expecting that, right? I'm expecting Russell Westbrook, and Darvin Ham is strong enough coach I've seen in his press conferences and the way he talks and the way he goes about it. He's not afraid of confrontation. So to see that and understand what's going on, I'm like, I'm not surprised by that. But especially right before the trade deadline, I think that might have been the final nail in the coffin. Like they were like, all right, we can't have you doing that here. We can't I think it was better for everybody just to sever ties. And that's what the Lakers did with this trade, man.
Yeah. I mean, I always said that I felt like he was headed down the path where he'll get the AI treatment after his contract was over. I said this like about 2 or 3 years ago. Now, to his credit, he did a good job, I thought, accepting that 6-man role, embracing that, coming off the bench, unlike the likes of AI or Melo. But after I heard that report last night, I'm like, damn, man, he really might be done after this season. But we are hearing now that if he gets bought out by Utah, which is more than likely, some suitors may include the Clippers in the Heat. So he may have if that happens, he may have a chance to redeem himself yet again. But I just hope that I hope he's in the league going forward because he's a good talent.
Yeah,
he may be hard to deal with. It's hard to incorporate it into an offense. You need a specific team around him, but he should be in the league.
Yeah, he's never, to me, I love Russell Westbrook, especially after Kevin Durant left, especially that whole MVP season, him just going out and being a renegade. He's never cheated the game. Like there's all the other question marks you can have about his attitude, his IQ on the floor, his turnovers, whatever the case may be. He's never cheated the game of basketball. When he's out there, he's playing 110%. He's going after it. As wild and reckless as it be, I'll respect that over anything else. Like as long as he's trying, I'll take that. For better, for worse, and unfortunately, it was for worse for the Lakers. They got rid of him. So especially with him going to Utah, I was thinking of that trade. I'm like, don't he have issues in Utah with the fan base? I'm like, so obviously it was okay, eventually maybe. Yeah, with the fans and stuff like that, especially in that series that they had in a couple years ago when they got eliminated. But to sit there and see Russell Westbrook, it's like, is this going to be a player where they just tell him to go home? Like, yo, just eat your bread right now, or actually buy him out and give him a chance to, especially with, they need point guard help. They need some type of boost there. They got rid of Reggie Jackson to Charlotte, who's going to be bought out of Charlotte as well. They sent John Wall back to Houston. So to see Russell Westbrook potentially be back in LA, like he didn't really leave, like he just walked across the hall, technically, right? So that's going to be interesting to see, and I think that's going to be a different element to the Clippers if he's bought there. Miami, I don't know how that fits. I mean, Kyle Lowry is still there. I don't know how he's going to fit there.
He has
being a backup.
He kind of is a Heat player. He has that, that rugged mentality. Go hard, nonstop. He fits it. He fits.
And if there's anybody that can channel that, right, it's Pat Riley, right? It's Eric Spoelstra, right? They've dealt with difficult personalities, tough personalities, and once you're brought in there, you're like, no shit, we're not dealing with all that other bullshit, extracurricular shit. You're here to work. Russell Westbrook is one of the hardest workers there. I don't know how that's going to fit team-wise, but it's like if there's anybody that can run and try to harness it, after we see Darvin Ham do that this year with Russell on the bench, Miami can possibly do that. But I think a big opportunity for him to go to LA with the Clippers. He needs some type of energy boost into that franchise, into that team right now. It looks like they're just lackadaisical. And I'm like, especially after watching the other game last night, it's like they need somebody that's going to push the pace, make things happen. And I feel like they're so complacent in what they do. It's like, especially with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard being in and out. Russell Westbrook's going to show up every day. That's the one thing we know about him. He's going to show up every day. He's going to give it his all. So to see those potential options open up for possible Russell Westbrook, I think that's really good for him.
I wanted Russ. I was perfect with just letting Russ play out his contract, letting that $47 million.
Yeah, we did talk about that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
But that is what it is.
I mean, to flip it how they did, right? Like the Lakers to turn this around and actually have like some stability, right? Like some actual NBA players. Kudos for them. As much as I don't like the Lakers, I want to see y'all fail. I was laughing at y'all all season. We'll see if you guys can turn it around. LeBron James is still playing at a high level. When Anthony Davis had those good couple of weeks, he was playing at MVP level. Something there. Like you guys have two guys that can get it done. Now you guys add some stability around them, some depth actually on the bench there. Jared Vanderbilt's a nice player. Malik Beasley's a real good player. So it's like you guys have something rather than a clusterfuck. You know what I mean? So
yeah, man.
I'm pretty sure everything.
And if D'Angelo doesn't work out, there's some issues going on there with chemistry. He's a free agent in the summer too, so we don't necessarily have to sign him again. We can, maybe Kyrie's available. Maybe Kyrie wants to come to LA in the offseason. Who knows?
I was thinking that because I was like, yo, if Dallas does not give Kyrie a deal, that money's off the table now with Russell Westbrook on, right? Like that there was going to be that cap. They can find a way to get Kyrie Irving, maybe even a sign and trade. Hey, maybe there's something here that you guys like that we can trade for Kyrie Irving. I'm pretty sure Mark Cuban's going to fight like hell on that if that's ever that situation. But
yeah,
Kyrie Irving's a free agent, as you said. There's still a possibility, especially now that they have building blocks there, especially Adam Obamba and Malik Beasley. Like, you have some guys that can fill that void there on the bench. Maybe Kyrie Irving joins that, but the Lakers are better off than they were 24 hours ago. That's definitely the case.
Absolutely. Virtually night and day. Yeah.
What do you think about we can get into some other what do you think about Jameis Wiseman going to Detroit in that trade? That whole crazy, this guy was a number 2 pick, very highly recruited and stuff like that, coming into college and stuff like that. He had some knee injuries or whatever the case would be. I thought when he went to the Warriors, he was going to be a shoo-in. Like, we've seen JaVale McGee play there, Andy Bogut play there. We've seen these other big guys play there and basically fit in no problem. And with his athletic ability, I thought he was going to be nice in next to the Warriors, being able to rim run, use his athletic ability. But to just did fall from great G League, and now he's in Detroit. And basically, he was traded for a bunch of second-round picks. That's all Golden State got out of that. Like, they sent,
which is basically more based on cap relief. But yeah, it's crazy saying. Like,
that was the thing too. Like that investment, like they're admitting with that, like that investment is gone. Like, it's a number 2 pick. Like, those don't happen all the time for championship caliber teams, right? So to see them just give up on him and just trade him, it's just like, it's wild, man. But the Warriors did get Gary Payton. Yep, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, not my fault. I was just saying that, at the same time, though, while he was a number 2 overall pick, it was kind of a weird time because that was just coming off, the COVID, the lockdown. There was no NCAA tournament.
Pandemic.
So it was really hard to assess the talent that year. It's because it was definitely a weird draft. Doesn't really happen often, but because the Warriors usually don't get it wrong when it comes to drafting players, right? But in that case, you look back and say, yeah, they got it wrong.
Yeah, that one, it's like they could have just had LaMelo Ball and harnessed him in and had him be another ball handler for them, take the ball out of Curry's hands, give them a different look. And especially being that infrastructure with Draymond Green and Steph Curry, to be around those guys at different professionalism than he's in Charlotte, where it's just like basically him and a bunch of young guys. It would have been a different look for them. I thought that was, everyone pretty much says that was a whiff for them. Cam Reddish went to Portland there for Josh Hart, the Knicks. Josh Hart, I think that was a good move for them, especially they weren't getting anything out of Cam Reddish, Evan Fournier, all those guys at the end of the bench. That's a Tibbs type of player, a guy that's going to play both sides of the ball, being able to space the floor, actually be a shooter, actually be a rebounder. Josh Hart is a great rebounder for his size, and he's going to play tough to the nails for the New York Knicks. I think he fits right in there. But what do you think about Cam Reddish going to Portland?
I'm happy for him to get out of that situation. He wasn't playing for Tibbs. And I think it can help out with Dame and Simons and all them over there. So I like that move for him. And like you said about Josh Hart, I like Josh Hart too. He fits really well in the Knicks culture. I liked him in LA. I was kind of mad. I was kind of upset we lost him, but at the same time, we got Anthony Davis, so it's like I understand it. But I would have liked to keep him because I feel like he does everything, just a little bit of everything. It doesn't really do anything great, but just a little bit of everything. He's just like a team first type of player, and I think you need that on your roster. At least one person let that on your roster.
It's funny because every stop that he's had, I'm like, why did they let him go? Like, he was in LA. Why did they let him go? He was in New Orleans. Why did they let him go? In Portland now, why did they let him go? So it's interesting to see what direction with that. Portland adding more youth to this team. Maybe they're trying to take a flyer because I like Shaedon Sharpe that they have there. That guy jumps out the gym. And we're seeing what direction they're going. Probably just trying to add a shooter to relieve Dame, space the floor a little bit. Cam Reddish is going to get some burn up there. Also, the Bucks traded Serge Ibaka and George Hill to Indiana. Those guys are going to be bought out most likely. I think Serge Ibaka is going to be bought out. It's going to be interesting to see if he gets picked up, where he goes, because you always need a big man in the league. But it's funny because I was thinking about that, and I'm like, we haven't seen Serge Ibaka in a while. Like, even in Milwaukee, he didn't get playing time. In LA, he didn't get playing time. So it's like, what's left of this guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely on the downside of his career because Ibaka used to be crazy valuable with his shot blocking and rebounding, and It just looks like he's definitely
and then he started to
out of that phase.
So like, I'm trying to look up some other trades here. What happened here? Hold on, give me 1 second. I'm just looking up for trades here.
Oh,
a couple of trades here. Josh Hart. But yeah, to see that happening, Matisse Thybulle also got sent to Portland as well. They got Jalen, got McDaniels. I'm like, wow, so that was a big trade, you know. And it's weird because I was always wondering that too when we talk about the trades. Gary Payton II, like, he never got any run in Portland. I didn't understand that. I never understood why he wasn't on the floor, why he wasn't getting that time out there.
Yeah, and then now go back to a familiar place.
Cement that with Matisse. And that opens up things for the Warriors, and it's weird because they also got Kevin Knox in the deal. I think that whole deal with Jameis Wiseman, they got Kevin Knox in there. So it's like you guys are trying to go get your deep perimeter defense back for that team and try to turn it around, because I think that's been one of the biggest issues with the Golden State Warriors. Yep, they're one of the best offensive teams, of course, with their starting five. But once they go to the bench, there's not enough depth there, and their defense is one of the worst in the league. It's like you guys got to turn that around. I think that's their chance here, trying to do that. Yeah, we got think about Denver not really making the splash there. They got Thomas Bryant. Memphis not really making any moves there. Like a lot of teams stayed still about that. Like Cleveland didn't add to their team.
Yeah, I wonder why. I mean, I feel like especially in the West, maybe it was because that that Suns trade when they acquired KD in the middle of the night, kind of like threw everybody off guard, and they didn't have enough time to scramble, you know, and assess like where they needed to go from there. So maybe that's why some teams didn't make moves like Denver or like Memphis. But I'm sure if they had ample time, they would have tried to do something to combat that.
Yeah. A lot of Woj was reporting that we're trying to get they were acquiring in Brooklyn like all the forwards they got. Like, hey, do you want to sell those guys back out? Like, teams were inquiring about that. Memphis going after OG Anunoby, that fell through. So it's like Kevin Durant just shifted the power once again in the NBA, like you said earlier.
Yeah, he did.
To basically send teams into panic. And then I think some teams are just like, hey, we are where we are. You know, like, we're not going to get any better. Like, this is what it is. Like, we're not going to be able to move the needle here anymore. Like, this is what it is. We're just going to try to give ourselves the best chance here. But yeah, man, the NBA trade deadline, one of the most craziest trade deadlines we've seen. So many players moving, man. Again, I can't think of a trade deadline like this. Sometimes trade deadlines have been dry. We haven't really gotten anything going there. But to see it now, like, pop off like it was at 1 o'clock in the morning this morning, and have so many trades, so many guys move around, it's like that. It's just crazy, man. Like,
it's definitely crazy that the NFL trade deadline stole the headlines from the NFL Super Bowl week. And every show was opening up with KD did it to the Suns. They weren't leading with the Super Bowl. First Take, Undisputed, another show, Get Up, all leading with Kevin Durant. Is on the movie, is going to Phoenix. Yeah. I'm like, this is crazy. This is the Super Bowl week. The Super Bowl.
and this is like two big teams aren't playing, like Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts with Philadelphia. It's like these are two prominent cities, two prominent quarterbacks, two great teams heading to the Super Bowl. Like, football is supposed to take, like, those shows were in Phoenix, Arizona. Like, they went down there to film. So to sit there and see, like, hey, we're talking about basketball, like, that's crazy. So I know the NFL isn't happy about that.
I mean, they probably not, but at the same time, they know it's not gonna affect it. NFL's still king in America.
Yeah, they're gonna
be through the roof.
They're gonna dominate the weekend. Yeah, man. Yeah. They're gonna dominate the weekend for sure. But who do you got in the Super Bowl now that we're here? I'm pretty sure. Did you do a podcast yet?
Nah, it will be. I'm gonna record it tomorrow, so that'll be up probably late tomorrow night, Saturday morning. But I'm going with. I can say it now. I'm going with the Chiefs, man. I know top to bottom, Philly's a better, more complete team, but at the same time, I can't see Pat. I know that Pat Mahomes is still pissed about losing that Super Bowl to the Bucs, and especially the way he lost it. Not even throwing a touchdown in that game. And then to what he's doing right now without Tyreek Hill, a lot of people without him up this year, has number one pass offense in the league to the Chiefs. I can't see him losing again. So I think it's going to be a relatively close game, but I'm going to go with the KC. But everything else tells me I should be going with Philly. But I'm just gonna roll with Pat.
Yeah, I think Philly's just a little bit more balanced. I think they might be able to rattle Mahomes a little bit, and especially with that ankle. We'll see how that's going to be. You know, he's hobbled a little bit, but it's like if anybody, Mahomes has been on a crazy tear. I've never seen a guy start his career like this in the NFL like that. So if anybody can turn it around and give himself a chance, give his team a chance, and especially at the position of quarterback, it's him, right? Like, but I'm going with Jalen Hurts. I think in Philadelphia Eagles, I think they have a nice balanced offense. The defense is pretty good. I think they're going to be able to rattle Mahomes a little bit. I think that's going to be the goal all night. Try to knock the hell out of Mahomes. Knock the head off the snake, man. But Super Bowl is happening, and again, as you said, the NBA trade deadline is dominating the headlines right now. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. The second half of the NBA season is going to be growing crazy. Seeing all the guys moving, new faces and new locations. Super Bowl this Sunday. Elimination Chamber. Next week is an Elimination Chamber. That whole storyline is going on about that. I listened to your review about the Royal Rumble, man, which was awesome.
Thanks,
you guys talked about NXT. You talked about LeBron. But yeah, man, we're gonna catch up again and do this again for sure. But that will do it for this episode. I'm gonna wrap it up. You can plug your podcast, man. Of course, I'm gonna put the links in below. But yeah, podcast, man.
All right, yeah. So the Mr. Vincent Podcast, you can find it everywhere: Apple, Spotify. It's available there. I try to do an episode at least once a week. I mainly focus on, basketball, football, and wrestling, which I rock with. But I'm going to be looking to add some more things down the line as the pod. I know I'm starting to get back to doing it more consistently, so I'm going to look to expand some of my topics in the episodes. So be on the lookout for that.
And especially your photography. You're doing photos and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, so I do. Thank you. So you can follow me you can follow my IG page, Mr. Vincent Photography. I do photography. I do shoots for I'm doing Valentine's Day shoots this weekend, offering that Easter family photos. I'm doing. Also got a 360 photo booth, Mr. Vincent's 360 photo booth. I work hard. I do a lot. I'm out here. I'm trying to get paid.
Facts, man. I hear you, man. But yeah, all those links will be in the description down below, man. Thanks again for joining me, and we'll catch up on this soon again with the NBA going on, NFL, wrestling, of course. I got to invite you on that too.
Do it, man.
Or if you want to invite me on there to talk wrestling, whatever the case may be, we can do that, man. But thanks for joining me, man, on this podcast, man. Much appreciated.
All right, my guy. Take care, man.
All right, man. Take it easy.